Well, welcome. I'm Liz Jamison. I'll be your trainer for tonight for E-commerce 101 for Pacific County. We'll be talking a little bit about branding, marketing, and your website, and then beginning to get into some e-commerce. But the purpose of tonight is to give you kind of a context within which to hold all the e-commerce conversation that we're going to have. And then next time, which will be Wednesday night, we'll be talking about more of the nitty-gritty technical details related to e-commerce. So hopefully you'll enjoy it all. Feel free to pipe in with questions throughout, and at the end, really just want you to be able to apply the information in your own circumstances. Yeah, so we'll have a good conversation here. Okay. So before we get into my intro and so forth, Nancy, would you mind starting us off and just give us a brief introduction of you, where you're located, your business, and what one thing you'd really like to learn tonight related to e-commerce or websites in general? What do you say?
Sure. Well, I'm Nancy Gorshey, I'm the owner and front of the house person for our restaurant, the Depot Restaurant in Seaview, Washington. And we've been in business for 17 years. And I know, like, my website is really old. I need to update it. And I get so behind. I have a webmaster, but I know I'm not, I need to spruce up. So I'm really interested in just thinking about what's most contemporary for now and what are the most critical issues. I mean, I know, like, I don't have enough photography. I'm still on stationary photography. And so anyway, I'm just really interested in cleaning up my website and other vehicles for e-commerce that we may or may not be able to use.
Okay, wonderful. That sounds great. What a good place to be coming from to approach this conversation. Awesome. So hopefully tonight will really help you with how to assess and consider different ways in which you might expand your website or make it more effective. And then, like I said, next time we're going to dig into some more of the technical nitty-gritty of e-commerce. So it should be a good conversation. Awesome. Congratulations, being in business for 17 years. That says a lot right there.
Thank you.
And it's not Patrick. Remind me your name.
Stacy.
Stacy. Okay.
Yeah. So my daughter is 13 and she has a candle business, Kira's Candles, and we're in Long Beach. And we just haven't set up a website or anything for her yet. And so we're just kind of trying to figure out how to kind of move into e-commerce, because she usually does like the local bazaars, farmers markets and stuff. And of course, with this year, it's been really slow for her. So.
Okay, wonderful. Well, welcome, Stacy and Kira. That sounds great. So no site yet, but you're in the planning stages of it, yeah?
Correct.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. And any burning questions, anything you in particular want to learn tonight?
No, I think we just kind of need it all.
Okay, all of the above, choice D.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. All right, great. Well, let's dig right in then. So I got started in entrepreneurship in 1998 when I started a website design and development firm. And at that time, all the businesses were like must have, they knew they needed to get a website to keep up. Or some people had, sort of a bad first version and knew they needed to upgrade. And seeing this opportunity in the marketplace, I started the web company, and things got rolling from there. So that's where I really started to coach entrepreneurs, because in order to help people get clear about who they were as a brand and what target audience they wanted to reach and with what messaging, and how did they want to position themselves vis-a-vis their competitors, right? So I had to have all these conversations to help people get clear in order to be able to create brand identities and websites and print collateral that was the right fit for them. Yeah. So that's kind of where it started. And later I worked in corporate HR department for a number of years, learning the HR and legalese side of life. And then I went to work for the Small Business Administration to run the statewide program for women entrepreneurs here in Washington. And in that role, I got to coach over 500 entrepreneurs of all different kinds, every thinkable kind of human with every thinkable kind of business. So it was wonderful. Whole bunches of folks, from people who just had an idea, were getting started, to people who were maybe well down the road and had been in business for a while and were planning, doing some succession planning. So lots of different kinds of businesses and different stages of the business life cycle. And the last few years, I had a private business coaching business and online marketing consulting business. So I've been in the thick of technical online marketing the last couple of years. So this is one of my favorite topics to talk about. So I was excited about tonight. Currently I work as the Veterans Business Development Specialist for Enterprise for Equity, and support our veterans from around Washington, especially in rural areas in Washington, to learn entrepreneurship if they are interested in having their own business. So that's a little about me. And so tonight we're going to touch on branding, marketing, your website in more detail, and get into a little bit of e-commerce planning. And we'll talk a little bit also about content marketing and social media. But the main focus will be your website itself, and then the context for thinking about your website. Yeah. So this is perfect if you're planning your site or you're planning the redo of your site. It'll be applicable for both situations. So I just like to make a note here on the importance of planning. I think, one of the most common errors in marketing overall is that people forget to create a purpose for their marketing materials, including their website. And we really want to create a very specific and clear purpose or purposes for our site so that we know what its job is, so we can measure whether it's doing its job and look at how to make it more effective or more efficient, right? So my favorite is the center quote here. It does not do to leave a live dragon out of your calculations if you live near one, right? If you have a business, you live near one. So we want to take that into consideration and always do our contingency planning, right? So that we know things are, no matter what happens, we have our contingency plans and we know where we're headed and how we want to get there. Now, we may have to change our plans because things happen, right? Like, what if COVID, right? And then we have to pivot, alter our plan, and adapt to a new environment. Let me just check here and make sure the recording is recording. Yes, it is. Okay. Okay, great. So a little bit about marketing here. One thing that many people do is, they run to do different marketing activities because they know they need to market, even spending money on various different marketing activities. But again, very often without ever creating a purpose or a metric for what the intended result is of those marketing activities. And so I want to encourage you tonight, we'll look a little more deeply at that, to plan and to create specific measurables for each marketing activity that you do. So if you have a marketing plan in your business plan, well, let me back up a little bit. At Enterprise for Equity, I don't know if either of you have had a chance to work with us before, but we've been providing entrepreneurial trainings for over 20 years. And we have several programs, one of which is called the Business Readiness Workshop. This is a 2-day feasibility study kind of workshop where we look at what is your business model? Can it work to produce the amount of income that you need to take home? And not only can it work, but how will it work to produce the amount of income that you need? And if not, how can we tweak it so that it can produce the amount of income you need? And then the next piece after that 2-day workshop is a 10-week series that we offer called the Business Planning Program. And in the course of the Business Planning Program, you actually write your business plan. So each week you do pieces and parts of it. We guide you through that whole process. And at the end of 10 weeks, you have a business plan in hand that you can use to either apply for a microloan from us or to apply for a loan with some other commercial lender, let's say. So, and the best part about having a business plan is not having the document itself, but going through the process of writing it, right? In the process of developing your business plan, you actually clarify so many things. It forces you to make decisions and clarify where exactly you want to go with the business so that you can actually get there. Yeah, so where you want to go and how you're going to get there. So one part, a critical part of your business plan is your marketing plan. And these are some of the topics that you would talk about in your business plan and in your marketing plan, which is a piece of your business plan, right? So we would look at what's going on in your industry. What are the trends? Who are your competitors and how do you compare to them? What is your unique selling proposition or value proposition? You actually want to be able to answer the question, why us? Why would people buy my kind of product? Why should they buy it from me versus anybody else who's doing something similar to what I'm doing? And you really want to reflect on that and be able to answer that question. You know, why should people come to me versus my competitors? Also in your marketing plan, you would talk about your ideal customer. Who is your avatar client or ideal customer? What is their profile? What are the demographics and the psychographics of that person, right? By demographics, we mean data about that person, but by psychographics, we mean how does our prospect think and feel about our product or service, and how do they make buying decisions when it comes to our kind of product or service. So it's really useful to know that. So this is one of the pieces that if you decide you'd like to participate in our business planning program, you'll develop all of this out. You know, and we'll guide you through that process. Also in the marketing plan, we talk about pricing. What is our price strategy? Are we low, middle, or the high-end provider in our industry? And where will be our distribution channels, right? And tonight we'll talk about one particular distribution channel called your website or your e-commerce website. And then we talk about also in the marketing plan, you know, what exactly is our plan? What actions will we take? What activities do we want to do to help get the word out about our business? And so that can be like, I have a wonderful marketing plan template that I'll send to you if you like, that you can use as an example. There's one example month in there, and then there's some empty months where you can fill in what marketing or advertising or public relations activities you want to do each month, right? Maybe you want to have events, or maybe you want to make special offers or have a campaign or promotion or do a direct mail piece, right? So if you map all of that out for either the holiday season, if you haven't yet, or for all of 2021, you could map out your marketing plan, right? What activities you're going to do, when you're going to do them, what you're going to do, and then what result you expect each one of those activities to produce, right? So that could be really useful. Yeah, it keeps you honest, it keeps you focused, right? When you make a commitment to do certain activities, either consistently, maybe it's, I'm going to post, you know, on Facebook 3 times a week, or I'm going to, you know, post one YouTube video each week, or whatever it might be. I'm going to host one event at my store or at my shop each week, or I'm going to go to one fair and sell my product. each week, or however that is for you, but it lets you fill in your plan so that you can see what's coming down the pike and actually carve out time in your calendar to get those activities done. Is this making sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, great. Hopefully this is giving you a bunch of ideas, gets you thinking. Okay. And, one of the most common questions I get when we're talking about marketing at all is, where should I be on social media? And usually you hear the answer everywhere, right? You want to be everywhere that you can. However, we all have a business to run, right? And we cannot spend 20 hours a week just minding all our social media platforms. That doesn't work very well. We could spend 40 hours a week or more just making social media content, but then we wouldn't run our core business, right? As entrepreneurs, we got limited resources, right? We have limited time, we have limited money, and we have limited energy and attention and focus, right? That we can put into this thing. And so we want to get the highest possible return on our investment, right? When we invest money into marketing, or when we invest time or our energy and attention and focus into the business, we want it to produce a result, right? And hopefully the most result possible, right? That way we're being really efficient and effective. So given all of that, you want to choose your top 1 or 2 social media platforms where your customer or prospect hangs out, right? Whatever, once you've identified your avatar client or your ideal client profile, and I can show you some tools to be able to do that, then you can figure out which is the most native, the most home platform for your particular tribe or users or customers or prospects, right? For your niche. Usually there's a top platform where most of your people hang out most often, and maybe there's a secondary platform where your people also hang out a lot too. So I would invite you to pick 1 or 2 and focus on that top 1 or 2 platforms, and then worry about the rest of them once you have more momentum and really get masterful with using your top platform for business, right? And that could take 6, 9, 12 months, right? To get really good at using one platform for business and to build a following and a tribe there. And so pick your top one, focus on that one. You can have a presence on all the other social media platforms, right? It's just hard to be really active on all of the platforms because there's too many now, right? We just spend all our time doing social media and none of our time running our business if we did that. And so let's, in the course of the conversation, we'll talk more about clarifying your avatar client. And then once you figure that out, we can figure out what is your best platform to be on to be very active and build your tribe. And if you are someone who wants to position yourself as an expert in your field, then you'll want to write a content list of the things that you can talk about, right? The things that you can authoritatively talk about, that are within your area of expertise and that are valuable to your customer that you can talk about in your content. And so those pieces of content you can repurpose. I say here 6 ways from 7. What I mean by that is, if your most native way of producing content, let's say it's writing a blog post, you like writing, for instance, then you'll take that content list and you can produce a blog post on each and every topic in there, let's say once a week or something like that. You can map that onto your marketing calendar. And then that is your core content, which you can repurpose in all different ways. So out of your blog post, you could pull a number of Facebook posts. You could choose images for your blog posts that you might also place on Instagram or Pinterest. You could take that blog post and use it as a script to make a YouTube video, right? So that's what I mean by writing your content list, all the topics you can talk about that are within your field that your users would be interested in, and then repurposing that content 6 ways from 7. So that original piece of content, you know, if you like talking, let's say better than writing, then maybe you produce a podcast episode and you pull, you can pull pieces out of there that could become blog post topics or Facebook posts, right? So you see, this is how, without taking all of your time, you can create content for a lot of different mediums. If you're not in content marketing, then that's totally cool too. Yeah. Then the same rules apply about social media. You know, pick your top 1 or 2 platforms and let's create content for that. Questions, comments?
I think that's really so realistic. I found in the beginning when I was launching into social media that I was trying to do like at least 4 of the major areas. And then when I really studied our community is so Facebook oriented, and you know, fewer people using Pinterest, and so I just ended up actually with 2 that I do, and then I did hire somebody else to do 2 others for me just for $100 a month because she's really proficient in those.
Oh, great. That's awesome. Yeah, that's another way to manage it too, is to just outsource some of your social media activity and engagement. Yeah, very good. And how did it go? What, how do you think it went?
Well, I think, I mean, it's good. The other thing I do is I still email. We still have, like we've got a 3,000 person email list. You know, we're about, I think, 2,000 on Facebook. We're not huge, but it's always growing. Each of them grow. So, and a lot of interaction. I think people, 2 types of people use it. That we have regulars who just look at on it to see what the specials and what the events are going to be, so they know to look. And then we do have folks that are kind of pushing us, you know, are our marketers and move it around. So that's good, especially when my husband actually does Instagram. That's his thing. So I guess we actually are pretty active in 3.
Okay, great. That's awesome. How wonderful that you've been able to get some engagement going, and you know, keep your regulars, as you say, engaged that way by having them come to check for the specials, and you're also able to build your email list, yeah, via these means. Fabulous. Okay, great. That's awesome. Okay, so a little context here on branding. You'll want to develop I call it a congruent brand, and that is so that people can recognize you no matter which platform they're on. You want that instant recognition of who you are as brand. So by that, I don't only mean your logo or brand mark, but I also mean that you have consistent expression of who you be as a company. And so we mean the fonts that you choose are consistent across all your platforms. The colors that you use are consistent across all your platforms. Not only your logo image, but also any submarks that you have, like other art related to your brand that you use would be consistent. That you use the same kinds of images. If you use photographs or artwork or caricatures, right, that they have that same vibe or look and feel that goes with your brand. That the expression of your company name is consistent across all your platforms, right? And some people choose even textures and like kinds of images or fabrics that are used as part of the brand identity as well. And if you have a tagline or unique selling proposition or unique value proposition, right? That was the thing we were saying before about, you know, why people should buy from you versus anyone else. Then we want to articulate that and express it in the same way across all of our platforms. And we make meaning of all these things, of fonts, of colors, of shapes, of textures, right? We make meaning of these pre-consciously, like we don't even realize we've assigned meaning to a color or to an image or to a font, right? But we intuitively know, right? Some fonts are more whimsical and some are more authoritative, and some kinds of images are more fun or funny, and others are more focused or serious. And every brand has archetypes that are basic human energies, basically, that are expressed by our brand and that people associate with certain brands. If you think of some of the large brands out there, you can think of some of the different brand archetypes that are that we associate with different brands. Anyway, I would like to recommend to you, if you're interested in branding and learning more about it, there is a book by my friend Howard Lim, Lim, and his book is called Authentic Branding, and it's about really how to build a brand that's authentic to who you are, right? Because you as a founder or an owner bring yourself to your company, right? So the brand typically represents aspects of you or your personality style, your value system, right? And so that's what he talks about in that book. It's available on Amazon if you want to scope it out. So I think one of the primary brand mistakes that people make is having an incongruent brand, an incongruent expression of who they are as a business. And so then people don't make that same solid association or meaning with us, may not instantly recognize us the way that we would want them to. So if you don't already, you want to create or have your designer create a set of brand guidelines for you, right? And these will apply across all your website, all your print materials, and everything else. So when we say branding, by the way, you hear the word a lot, right? But when we say branding, we really mean so much more than just your logo. We mean every touch point where the customer has an experience with your company. So when your customer calls and gets your outgoing voicemail message at your business, that's a brand experience. When they receive your invoice by email, that's a brand experience. When they see you out in the community at a networking event, that's a branding experience. When they get your product, if you ship them your product and they get your product in the mail and they have an unboxing experience, that's a brand experience, right? When they get a thank you note or a Christmas card from you, that could be a brand experience, right? Every touch point, every time they interact with you in any means, by any medium, those are branding experiences. And you want to design them deliberately, right? So that your customer has the experience you want them to have. Not a random experience, your brand experience, right? And the same thing will apply visually. We don't want them to have a random experience when they see some of your materials. We want them to have a deliberate experience. And we hope that we design all of our materials, right, so that they are a good expression, a consistent expression of our brand. And then people hopefully make the meaning that we want them to make, associate the positive words, the positive experiences with that imaging that we want them to have. Yeah. Is this making sense?
Yes. Yes, it is.
Okay, great. Excellent. Okay, so sorry about my slide here. There we go. So just get some help from your designer if you don't already have brand guidelines, or not. You can create them yourself, but you're just going to identify, here are the fonts that we use when we express the company name. Here are the colors that we use, and we want to identify the exact color numbers. Here are the kinds of images or textures, and here's the feeling vibe of our company. Maybe we're whimsical and fun, or maybe we're antique and old-fashioned, or maybe we're, who knows what your brand might be, but it's just good to think through these things. Yeah. And if you want to make a further study of brand archetypes, just Google brand archetypes. And there's a whole bunch of work out there, a whole body of work about how these human archetypes, like, the hero or the innocent or the warrior, right? All these different basic human energies or archetypes, and how they are expressed through brands. So it's really interesting. Okay. So again, top number one business mistake, not creating a clear purpose, right? So for the business or for the marketing pieces, and especially your website. So that applies at every level, right? We want to create a clear intention. That's the planning thing, right? About the live dragon. So we want to create clear goals for the business in terms of revenue, right? And the reason this is relevant to the e-commerce conversation is if e-commerce is one of your revenue streams, then we need to figure out what is its annual goal, right? Inside of what is the whole company's annual goal. So if you create clear goals for your business, you'll have your annual number, right, for sales, which you'll break out by the month, right, divide by 12. Then you'll create your weekly number. So you know how much you need to make each week to be on track for your annual number. And some of my folks who I've coached even measure daily their sales and hourly their sales. Like I could walk into their shop and they could tell me, have they hit their break-even number for the day yet or not? Right? And that's empowerment right there. Because then you're not waiting to find out after the month has already ended. When you know each day, you can actually do something about it before that time frame is expired, right? So now you know what you need to sell each day to cover your costs and then to make the amount of profit that you want to make. So I'd invite you to create a sales game if you haven't yet. That will empower you. And one of those revenue streams then could be e-commerce. And you can figure out how much do I want to do each month in e-commerce sales, right? E-commerce is going to be one revenue stream, perhaps within several, hopefully, that you have. So for each marketing piece by itself, we want to define an intent with metrics, right? What we want to produce, what is our intended result, and what is our budget. And then we're going to experiment and find out what works the best, what doesn't work at all, right? And how can we tweak each marketing piece or activity to make it work better, to make it more efficient, and to have it give you a bigger return on your investment, right? That'd be good, right? When you spend something on marketing, you want to get something out of it, not just throw money at it, right?
Definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so this is not from me. This is from a marketing guru named Dan Kennedy. He has No BS Marketing as a series of books. I don't know, probably more than 20 different books on marketing and sales and such for entrepreneurs. Anyway, so he identifies these 3 critical pieces of any marketing campaign that you would do, right? You have your market, right? Who you're marketing to, and you want to clarify that. So you're marketing to the right people, right? If I market to everybody, then it will occur for everybody like I'm not for them. If you market to everybody, then it occurs like you're marketing that you are for nobody, right? If you market to your very specific target niche, then they see themselves in that conversation. It resonates with them. And they're like, that's the person for me, in particular for me, for this kind of product or service, right? So we want to clearly identify that target market. And we also want to clarify our messaging, right? We want to use the language that our customer uses when they talk about the problem they experience and the solution or transformation they want out of working with us, out of buying our product, out of coming into our restaurant, right? Whatever it might be. So we have our market. We need to get that right. We have our message. We need to clarify that and get our messaging right. So we're using the same language as our customer when we talk about our product or service. And then there's the media part of it, right? Which media am I going to use to reach my market with my message? The good news is when you get all three of these right, you have a very successful ad campaign and you can run it into the ground and it will keep working potentially for a long time. The bad news is that if one of these is off, it could cause your marketing campaign not to work. So if your marketing activity doesn't work, then I would invite you to just relook at these three areas and see which one you think might be off. Try something different in that area, do an experiment and see if you can find what works better in that realm. Okay, so a little bit about avatar client or ideal client personas here, right? We want to find out their demographics, as we said, psychographics, how they language the pain point, right, that your product or service addresses, and how they speak about and make decisions about your product or service, how they language the ideal state or transformation that they want out of having your product or having your service.
Can you talk more about pain point? I guess I'm not translating that for me in my world.
Yeah, okay, great. Good question, thank you. So the pain point would be the frustration or pain or struggle or challenge that the customer feels that causes them to go out and get your product. So yeah, in your case.
You mean beyond they're hungry, right?
Yeah, so I mean, there's the literal interpretation, right, of they're hungry, but there might be other things also in the mix that they're seeking out of coming to the restaurant. What do you think? What else do you think they might be seeking?
Well, that maybe like right now with coronavirus, they're seeking social interaction.
Yeah.
The ability to see other people and feel a part of a community.
Yes.
Yep. Okay.
I would guess that's a big one, right? Community connection, maybe family connection too, like having some family time, like families go out together to a restaurant because they want to be with each other and be outside the house where they're not distracted and spend time together and have good conversation, right? So
yes, absolutely.
There's a couple of experiences I think that you provide, right? The experience of being in the community and being in the restaurant and dining together and celebrating together. There's also the experience of, if they get takeout, right? That's another kind of experience where maybe they want comfort food. And so the familiarity of their favorite dish at your restaurant, provides them with that comfort at a time when, we're hanging on to every piece of normal that we can, right?
Yes.
Things that feel familiar and normal to us are so important right now. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
Because we've lost. I'm sorry?
No, I just wanted to say that really helps. I get it now. I wasn't sure I was understanding. So thank you so much.
Yeah, welcome. Yeah, I see that for myself and as well as all the people I work with, any bit of normal that we can hang on to right now because we've lost so much of what we considered to be normal is a good thing, right? These are anchors for people. And so perhaps, especially for your regulars, the meals that you provide could be those kind of anchors. And so even if they don't come into the restaurant, I guess that was my point, you're still providing them with an experience, having that comfort, having that familiarity. Yeah.
Yes.
So this is really cool because now you start to ferret out what are the reasons people actually buy. And then you can address them on your website, which is super cool.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any comments, questions, Stacy or Kira?
No, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so one part of identifying your avatar client is figuring out, what generation are they part of, right? And this can tell you a lot about what that person might value, what their values are. It might also tell you what their primary social
Bring him
platform
up
is.
here. I don't want him outside.
Oops. Oh. I'm just going to mute you for while you have background noise for a little bit, Stacy, and you can always unmute yourself whenever you want to speak, okay? So just, you want to figure out which generation or generations your target audience is part of, and this is going to influence where you are on social media, right? Because for each one, they may have a different native platform or platforms that they usually use. Okay. And I keep talking about top mistakes that businesses make around marketing. I guess this is one of them too. People run to do marketing activities because you should, you have to, right? But very often our marketing piece has no offer in it, or it has an offer and no action steps listed with how to take advantage of the offer. And so I'm telling you, this is the reason why people do not buy. Either you do not make them an offer that's compelling enough to cause them to act, or you don't tell them how specifically to take advantage of the offer, right? And make it easy for them, right? The more steps that it takes or the more work it occurs for them, the less likely they are to take an action. And if you look at yourself as a consumer and how you buy, you could usually, understand that intuitively. If somebody makes it a whole lot of work to do business with them, you usually bail somewhere in the process of that transaction instead of completing it. So we want to create a clear offer. We want to have urgency, right? Urgency could be like those little timers that you see online, right? There's a countdown timer for how long your special will last. That's urgency. You could say, this special is only good until, this weekend or whatever. Scarcity is another trait you want your marketing offer to have. Scarcity could be like, we're only giving this, we're giving this freebie to the first 10 people that enroll, or the first 100 people that buy a product, or whatever it is, right? Oh, good, you're back. There we go. Yeah, if you lose internet connection during the class, no worries, just log right back in if you can, as soon as you get your connection back. Okay, so, and often people don't create goals or metrics for their marketing piece, so they never know what their return on investment is because they didn't determine a way to measure that. And so just a point here at the bottom about trading dollars for dollars. So if I discover that I can spend, 20 bucks on an ad, and every time I spend 20 bucks on that ad with that audience in that medium, I get 50 bucks in profit. How often am I going to make that trade? I give you 20, or we could do it the other way. You give me 20 and I give you back 50. How often are you going to make that trade? Every chance you get, right?
Right.
So this is what, if you're effective in your advertising, That's what that's like, right? You start to learn, you experiment, you make your ads and your offers more effective. And then once you get effective, then every time you spend 20, maybe you get back 50, maybe you get back 100. And you'll start to learn across all your different places that you advertise too, because maybe one place, you put in 20 bucks and you get back 20. And another place you put in 20 bucks and you get back 50 or you get back 200. You want to know what those are, right? So that you can spend your money accordingly, right? So you get the most return on your investment for each ad that you place. Okay, so the next part is a little bit here about developing your messaging, right? We talked a little bit about avatar client, and that's the market. Now we're going to talk about the message. And so for the messaging, you want to develop language that you use in your brand, right? So we call that brand language. It's the way you speak in writing or verbally about your product or your service. And we want to use the language, again, that our customer or prospect uses. And hopefully we want to develop a unique selling proposition or a way to articulate why people should buy from us. So a good example of a USP is like Domino's Pizza, right? They built their entire brand around their USP, which was, what was it? Fresh hot pizza delivered in 30 minutes or less, guaranteed. That is what distinguished them from everybody else selling pizza. And that's what they got known for and built their brand on. Yeah. So if you have a good, unique selling proposition, it can carry you a very, very long way. So we want to listen for the language our prospect and customers use about the problem or challenge or struggle they experience. And we want to listen for the language that they use around the solution or transformation or how they enjoy our product or service. What feeling does our product or service give people, right? So we make buying decisions emotionally, right? We use logic to justify them, but we usually make the decision around a feeling, around an emotion, right? So we want to be sure that we make that emotional connection with people in the language that we use, but also with our website and all the images that we use on our website. So we're going to get to some more on that. Let's see here. So also we have to develop a clear offer. What is our offer? And then what are the action steps people can take to take advantage of that offer? Either it's call now or book your appointment, at this website, or register now, or whatever that call to action is. If your marketing piece does not have any call to action, nothing will happen. And then you get all bummed out, right? We all do. If nothing happens when we spend time and money on a marketing piece, right? So have a clear offer and put the action steps, put the call to action, and tell people how to take advantage of the offer specifically. And your action steps should be so clear, that any second grader could do the actions. They could tell what to do and do it, right? So you got to make it super clear and super easy for people to take those actions. And then if you can offer a guarantee, that's super awesome, because it takes the risk off your customer and puts it back onto you. Now, a lot of times people won't take you up on it. Even if they're unhappy, it's unlikely. I mean, many people won't follow through and ask for their money back or whatever your guarantee is. Some people might. Still, it's a small percentage generally of those who even were unhappy with the product or service. And so having a guarantee of some kind, whatever it is, whatever's appropriate for you, having a guarantee can help you convert more prospects into buyers. Yeah. More people will buy if there's some kind of guarantee than if there's none. Okay. So here's a little marketing pathway, right? And it doesn't always work out this way. it, business doesn't always work out the way we plan, right? Things happen and things change. But if we had our druthers, right, it'd be great if we could first clarify our brand identity and make our marketing plan, right? And those would be initial steps. Then build our website, or update our website or make a new version of it, right? And then get out on the various social media platforms that you've chosen that are your top 1 or 2 platforms, right? That way, if we go kind of roughly in that order, then hopefully we'll end up with a pretty congruent brand across all our platforms. That's the idea. Okay, so now to the nitty-gritty part of planning your site, or planning your expansion of your site, whatever it might be. You want to clarify, what are its jobs? Does it have one job? Does it have many jobs? What do you want the site to actually do for you? Yeah. So it could be that you want your site to be a place where sales occur. It could be that you want to use your site to build your list, your email list. It could be that you want to get leads from your site. You could be using your site to just establish your credibility and expertise in your field. It could be a resource of information for your customers and clients, or a way to keep them engaged. It could be to provide value to your customer or prospect, right? And to demonstrate that what you have to offer is valuable. So there could be probably 100 other different purposes for a website, but these are some of the common ones. So you just want to identify for yourself, what are the purposes of your website? Is its primary job to have sales occur? Or is its primary job to help you build your email list? Or is it to establish your expert credibility? Or maybe it's all 3, or maybe it's just one of those. So just kind of think through that. And then your site, your new site or your updated site, we want to be careful that we have it created and designed to serve that purpose, right? So that it can fulfill on its job. We really want it to do the job that we assign it. So the user interface is one of the things that we want to think about. And in the planning of your site, one of the pieces that you'll have to sort out is your site map, right? Or site architecture. And you want to arrange the pages, how they relate to each other in a way that supports the site's purpose, whatever that is. So I would invite you to get some Post-it notes, sticky notes, right? And put the names of your various pages of the site you think you want to have, put them each on a Post-it note, and put your Post-it notes up on your wall or dry erase board and arrange them, right? It might be that all your pages are at the top level, that every page of the site is available from your main navigation. Or it could be, if you have a lot of different products or services that you want to offer, could be that you have pages several layers deep, right? And not all the pages of your site are available from that top level navigation. Some of the pages are down deeper because they are categories or subcategories or subcategories of a different topic within the site. Yeah. So determining what pages you want to have on the site and what your page names should be as part of it, right? And you want your page names to be roughly the same length, right? Because it doesn't really work visually to have, one page name that's 1 word and another page's name has 4 words, right? Can you imagine how your navigation buttons would look? One would be really long, the other would be really short. That usually doesn't work out visually. So if you do the Post-its, you can not only determine what you want the page names to be and kind of develop a naming system, like, every page name is 2 words, or maybe it's 1 word, or whatever your nomenclature system is. But it also helps you then identify how you want the pages to relate to each other, either all at the same level, or maybe some of them deep down underneath each other. And we want to have an ease of eye flow, I call it. When we read obviously left to right and top to bottom, right? So because we read left to right and top to bottom, our eye will generally scan in that way, right? And so our best real estate or space on our web pages is top left, right? That's why a lot of people put their logo top left. That is maybe one of the first things that you want people to see. And that's where people start to scan the page with their eye. We also want to have today's websites are really, the text is chunked down and scannable, right? We don't use a big old long prose narrative most of the time nowadays. We use a paragraph and then a set of bullets and maybe a heading and a subheading and a paragraph and another set of bullets, right? We want to make it our text scannable so that it doesn't demand that somebody, you know, dig deep into 4 pages of writing, right? So in order to break up the text, we use headings, we use subheadings and subheadings, right? So in web language, we call that H1. That's a heading level, top heading level, right? H1. Then a subhead we call H2. That's your next level. And your subheading we call H3, right? A third level subheading. And search engines actually look for those on your pages. So you want to have them there, right? You want to have H1, H2, and H3 headings on the pages of your site, at least most of the pages if you can, because that'll help your support your search engine rankings. So let's see here. So chunk down your text, design your page to support the purpose, whatever that page's purpose is, right? Each page of your site might have its own job to do, and we want it to be organized for that. So where I say whiz bang and widgets here, what I mean by that is there's all kind of fancy things, right, that we could put on our webpage, but just because they exist doesn't mean they support the purpose of the page or the purpose of the site. So we don't have them on there just because, you know, they're cool and we can have them, because they might actually take away from getting users to take the action we want. Maybe it's buy now, right? And we want them to click that buy now button. So we shouldn't have anything on the page that distracts them from that. Everything on the page, the images, the buttons, the copy should all support them taking that action we want them to take, right? So if we arrange our pages that way, then we are thinking conversions, right? We want to, in web language, we say conversions. We want people to convert from a prospect to a buyer, or from a person who's not on our email list to somebody who's opted into our email list, right? Those are conversions. And we want our site to be friendly and user-friendly on all different devices, right? Because for many people, you know, their website is used maybe 60% by people who are on a mobile phone. So we want our site to be responsive and adapt to mobile phone and display correctly. Or if they're using a Mac or a PC or an iPad or a variety of different browsers, you know, maybe they're using Google Chrome, maybe they're using Safari or Brave or Firefox to look at your website. And we want to test our site to make sure, or have our designer test our site to make sure it works properly under all conditions that we can imagine. Can't always be perfect that way, but we want to test and maximally have it display correctly on in all the different environments that someone might use. Let's see, we talked about short chunks of text and bullets, and headlines are another important piece, right? We want to be sure that we have a good heading, H1 heading, or a good headline on our page. such that people want to read it. It's the same as like a subject line in your email message, right? People will open the email message or not based on what's in the subject line of that email. So we want to be sure it's a good one. It's intriguing. It causes curiosity so that people want to open and read more or read the page on our website. Okay, so conversions. How do we convert more people? So sometimes people have the problem of, I don't get enough traffic to my site. What do I do? Right? And then we talk about keyword research and search engine optimization. There's a lot of ways to do that. Some of it uses all your social media platforms, by the way. But if we get a lot of traffic to our site, but we're not converting anybody, that's a different problem. And we need to fix that. And so if that's our problem, we get traffic, but we don't convert anybody, then here are some keys, what we can look for or do to increase our conversions, right? We could make it less steps to buy, literally less clicks. You notice how Amazon, has got it down to like 1 click. You can buy in 1 or 2 clicks and you've purchased something, right? They made it so easy to buy. And so now they get a lot of sales. Placement. What do I mean by placement? I mean where your button appears, where your buy now button appears on the page. One thing that has been studied and proven, since so many people are buying on their cell phones now and shopping websites from their cell phones, is that if people use their right thumb on their cell phones, and if you place your buy now button where it's in easy reach of the right thumb when someone's on a mobile device, you'll sell more. Isn't that wild? It's just, it's so great to like uncover all of this special data. A lot of people don't know, how do I convert more? And you really have to just think it through, right? And how to make it maximally easy for your user, no matter what kind of device they're on. Colors. Some colors convert better than others. Isn't that interesting, right? So you'll notice on Amazon, the buttons are orange, and we call that Amazon orange. And that is very much deliberate. That color is one of the best converting colors. So if you Google Amazon orange, you can get the color number. You can use that same orange on your buttons if you want also. And there are other colors that convert well too, if the orange doesn't go with your brand, let's say. Certain fonts might convert better than others. You want to have your text on your button bolded, for instance. So if you have a register now button, you want to have register now in all caps and bolded. Who knew, right? But you can convert more that way than if you had big letters and little letters and not bolded. Isn't that interesting?
Yes.
Yeah, it's just, it's neat that we have so much data now about what works, right? It's very cool. Images, right? We want to make the emotional connection with people with our images, right? So when you get your product photos going, you want to show product in use. Product in use images sell better, convert better than just a picture of the product on the shelf. So images with people in them enjoying your product or enjoying your service will sell better than just a picture of your product on the shelf. You want to show the context, show the environment, make the emotional connection so that people go, oh yeah, I want that experience, right? Headlines, some convert better than others, right? You got to test them and see which convert the best. Copy, you could say you have a lot of copy on a page or just a little short copy on a page or on an ad. And sometimes a short bit of copy will sell better Sometimes a longer piece of copy will sell better. The only way to find out is to test, right? So we call it, if you hear the term split testing or A/B testing, that means we take half of our customers who click on an ad, we send them to one page with one headline, and we take the other half, the people that click on the ad, and they go to a different page. And it has all the same stuff except for a different headline. Now we can test and see which of the two headlines convert better, perform better. Once we find that out, then we can test an image, and we can say, oh, okay, same headline. We know the headline works well. Let's test two different images. One will perform better than the other. Then we can test the length of copy, and we can say short copy or long copy, which sells the best with the good performing image and the good performing headline. Once we do all that, we've really got an effective ad. And like I said, now we can run it into the ground and keep using it for as long as it keeps working, right? So these same principles apply throughout your website, by the way, not just to ads. So above the fold, what do we mean by that? We mean in the first screen without having to scroll. So whatever we want your person to do when they come to the website, let's say if the purpose of that page is to have them buy now, then we want to have the buy now button above the fold that is available without any scrolling. Now we might have the button appear again several times on the page, but we want to have at least one iteration of that button above the fold on that page so that they see it before they even scroll. Also, we don't want to offer people too many choices because they get decision fatigue. And they won't buy anything if we overwhelm them with too many choices. So this is a delicate balance, and every different kind of business, I think you have to figure it out for yourself. What is the right number of choices to offer people? Because if you give them too much, they won't choose anything. But you want them to have a selection, right? So a lot of studies tell us that 6 or 7 choices at a time may be a good number so that people don't feel overwhelmed and can pick one, right? So one way to do that is to layer your decision making, right? You could say, first choose your color, right? And there's 6 different colors and they pick one. Next, choose your size, and there's 4 different sizes and they pick one, right? But you're not making them choose them all at once. You're giving them one choice, another choice, and then another choice. Yeah. Okay. So speaking of web platforms, right? One of the things that as we're planning our site is we got to figure out what platform are we going to use to build the site, right? We could say we want a WordPress site or a Shopify site or a Weebly site or a Wix site. There's all different kinds of platforms and templates out there. And we want to understand which one we're getting and look at, is it a right fit for us? Yeah. So who is going to maintain the site? That's one question, right? Because if you're doing it, you might need one platform. If you're going to have your designer do all the maintenance and updates, then you could choose a different platform. If you want to do it yourself, then you don't know any programming, right? There are certain platforms that have a really good user-friendly administration system so that you can change out your own text and your own images, and you can add a page to your site, and you don't have to know any programming to do that. So that's convenient and less expensive, right? Plus you can hopefully update it more often. You want to choose a good domain name. You want to think how you might want to expand your site in the future. And how does this platform integrate with other systems? Like, let's say you have a point of sale system. Will your new site integrate with your point of sale system or your accounting system or your inventory system, right? These are good questions. And we can figure out, do we want to use a website template or do we want a custom designed site? If we have very special functions that we want the site to do, we might want a custom site. But today there are a lot of website templates that are either free or nominally expensive, maybe $100 or something like that a year to use. And those are available out there, and they do have some constraints, like you can customize them mostly, but some things may not be customizable on in some website templates. So you just want to know, how customizable is this template that I want to use? Is it customizable enough for me? And is it transferable or not? For instance, if you get a Squarespace site, then your site is built within Squarespace. You have to host it with Squarespace because it's the only thing that supports that platform. So if you wanted to go to a different hosting company, then you'd have to totally rebuild your site from scratch. So that's something else to be aware of. So hosting, I'll just say a little bit about what hosting is. Yeah. So hosting is basically storage space that you pay for on a server, like a big machine that's connected to the internet, 24/7 and has all of these security measures, hopefully, right? that allow it to be up and running all the time, to have ventilation. They're on earthquake proof racks, right? So hopefully even if there's an earthquake, your site doesn't go down, all these things. So you pay for this storage space on a server, usually annually. You might pay monthly, but usually it's something like, $100 or $200 a year for this storage space that's internet connected and maintained all the time. So that if your site ever went down, that you could call your hosting company and say, what's going on? Why is my site down? Let's get it back up and running. Okay, so you want to get your resources together when you're ready to build a site or redo a site, right? That means, what text do you want to have on the site? Do you want to write it, or do you want your designer to write it, or you want to take your text from your old site and just apply it on your new site? What will the page names be? We talked about that. Common style and length. What is the artwork that you have available for the site? So you want to have an electronic copy of your logo, preferably an original Illustrator file. And then any submarks or other art associated with your brand, right? You want to put all this together so you can give to your designer. Photos, right? If you have product photos or photos of your storefront or any of that, we want to get those together, and you might have to choose some stock images also for the site. So we want a little budget for stock photography if we need it. Testimonials. Oh, this is the best one, right? So we want to have some testimonials that we can use on the site. Those could be text testimonials, like things that people emailed to you, comments that they made about how great your product or service was. They could be text with photos of the person who gave the testimonial, or they could be video testimonials. Video testimonials are super popular and powerful because people make the emotional connection when they watch a testimonial video, right? They can sense whether that person's authentically excited about your product or service, right? And whether they really had a great experience and they love it or not. So testimonials are fantastic to use throughout your site. And then again, for photos, you want to have photos of your product in use or being enjoyed by your customers or some models. So just to summarize all that, right? We want a congruent brand, same look and feel across all our platforms. We want to find out from our designer, and this part is a little bit about contracting with web designers, right? How many different design ideas will they give us to choose from? Are they just going to give us one? Or can we choose from 2 or 3 different designs? Are we going to tell them the colors, or are they going to design our brand colors for us and figure that out in fonts, in images? And really we want to, whatever photos we identify that we want to use on the site, whether they're our photos that we took or our photographer took, or whether they're ones that are stock photos, we want to be sure we make the emotional connection with people, because that's really what has sites convert, are those images where people can see the product well, they can see the detail of it, and they make the emotional connection and want to buy for emotional reasons, right? Comments, questions?
I have a kind of a question, but it's not specific to the design. It's actually going back, and so I can give it to you later. I wanted to just talk more about which platforms by age groups are attractive. So I don't know if that's or later.
Okay. You mean for social media?
Yes. Yes. I mean, like, is a Gen X person more Instagram? And probably my age group is more Facebook, but I just was curious if there are some specific top areas you recommend.
Yeah, well, let's see. So what generation do you feel like you serve the most? What generation are your avatar clients?
Boy, I would say we probably are serving we're probably serving mostly boomers and Gen Xers right now.
Okay.
Would be my guess. And then we're just beginning to get more millennials. That's our newer.
Okay. Okay. That makes sense. So, for your boomers and Gen X, I would say Facebook will be the top platform, right? But there'll be some YouTube use in there as well. And then for millennials, I would, the millennials are strongly on Instagram. That is the native platform for millennials, especially women. So if you have young, like 20, 30, 40 something women, would usually be most active on Instagram. They also make a lot of use of YouTube as well. So those might be a couple ideas for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Let's see here. So this is just a little bit about the budget part, right? We may want to have a budget for the design of the site. Could be for the maintenance of the site if we're not going to maintain it and our designer is. It's maybe $20 a year-ish for a domain name, or we might have multiple domain names. Maybe $100 or $200 a year for hosting. And we definitely want to have a secure server certificate. It used to be that you only needed a secure server certificate if you were doing e-commerce. But now, if you have any kind of website, you need a secure server certificate. And the reason is Google will see your site as not authoritative, not credible, if you don't have your secure server certificate. So it used to be that you paid about $100 a year for a secure server certificate. Some places it probably still costs that, but some hosting companies now are giving you a secure server certificate when you come on board for hosting for free. So sometimes that's just wrapped up in the hosting now, but you want to be sure you have it. When you have a secure server certificate, then when your URL appears in the little window at the top of the screen, then it shows the little lock icon, right? And that means your site is safe, encrypted, protected, and makes people feel safer to do e-commerce with you. If you don't have a secure server certificate, then people might hesitate to do e-commerce transactions with you because they'll feel like their card is not protected. Also, in the little window across the top of the screen, you will see HTTPS when it's secure. If you just see HTTP with no S after it, that is not a secure site. So that's one way to identify a secure site versus a site that does not have a secure server certificate. Let's see here. And so we want to also, in our cash flow projections, right, we're going to look for how much will our merchant processing cost us? Well, it could be that most of our transactions are done on credit card. And, we might pay 2 or 3 or 4% for merchant processing. Well, we want to capture that expense in our cash flow projections so that we can plan for that, right? We need to know how much that's going to be. And we can also shop for the best rate for merchant processing, so we pay less. That's always good. We might also have some costs for stock photography or for artwork for the site. So that's okay too. But these are all things that you might want to clarify with a web designer, how much will it be for each of these things? Will I need them, or some of them maybe I don't need? Okay, so this is kind of a lot of information, but at least it's a visual here. So we might want to use our ads to get people to our site, right? And so this is one possibility that we could create a system where people go to an ad, let's say a social media ad, and then maybe they come to our website or landing page, and we make them an offer there on our site. We maybe give them a lead magnet, which could be like a downloadable, article or white paper or tips or a recipe, right? We give them something in exchange for them giving us their email address. So these have more steps in them than probably what you would need, but you could do something like Facebook ads that go to the website that offer a recipe in exchange for capturing their email address, or then you can send them coupons and so forth, right? So that you can build your list that way. And this one's just my contact info, right? So that if you run into questions or problems or whatever, that you could drop me an email line or give me a call, and be happy to support you with whatever you might need to go forward. Yeah.
Great. Any other advice you have that's general? I mean, I know this can go way into detail about optimizing our websites, like for Google Analytics to pick us up.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of different strategies you can use to help your search engine optimization, right? So that you get ranked as high as possible in Google. I'll just throw out a few ideas for you. We could do a whole nother class on that at some point. Maybe we will, I don't know. But I would say, one thing is you want to express your company name, your address, and your phone number in the exact same manner across all your platforms. So if you say, first word, space, second word, comma, LLC, and that's how you list your company name, you want to spell it that exact way on every platform. Same thing with your phone number. If you always use a hyphen and not a dot between the numbers, right? You want to do that exactly the same way across all your platforms, right? So that Google and other search engines can recognize that's the same business. If you don't have it expressed in exactly the same way, one time you put your PO box with dots and another time you put your PO box and no dots, right? That can throw it off from recognizing this is the exact same business. So that is one tool. The other thing you can do is identify all of your best keyword phrases. We call it long tail keyword phrases. That's just a string of words that people search by when they're looking for someone like you, a business like yours, right? So you might identify your top 20 or 30 long tail keyword phrases, right? Multiple word phrases that people use when they're looking for your kind of restaurant, for instance. And then you're going to use those good keywords throughout your site. And your designer can also put them, depending on your platform, in the back end of your site, so that it helps Google to recognize, oh, when someone looks for, best comfort food Pacific County or whatever, right? They search by, that you come up under those good keywords. And so actually next time we're going to talk a little bit more about keywords on Wednesday, because that's part of e-commerce as well. So we'll dig a little bit further into that Wednesday.
Thank you.
Yeah, welcome. Does that help you kind of get your bearings in this whole scene? And
absolutely. Thank you very much.
Okay, awesome. You're welcome very much. Thank you for coming and staying through the whole thing. And we'll see you on Wednesday night, and we'll dig a little bit more into the actual e-commerce pieces and how they work, and how to choose an e-commerce platform, and some of the other search engine optimization pieces as well.